Check that shit out, man, the internet. Let's see if those wrote something new about us or that stupid-ass flick.
Something you want to add to this briefing, Captain Hiller?
No, sir. Just a little anxious to get up there and whoop E.T.'s ass, that's all.
All right, look. There's only one return, okay? And it ain't of the king, it's of the Jedi.
That man is playing Galaga. Thought we wouldn't notice, but we did.
I'm running this monkey farm now, Frankenstein, and I want to know what the you're doing with my time.
Would you like to know more?
Hello, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Geeks Future Imperfect. I am your host this week, Alex, the producer, joined with...
Oh, I'm Aaron Pollyea.
Sorry to leave you hanging there.
That's okay. That's okay.
I had a hiccup as we were getting ready to go, and I had to go off mic for a second. But yes, it's the two of us flying, well, not quite solo, but working together on Ad Astra, which is a film from 2019 that I saw in theaters. Birdman has now watched it. He just wasn't able to record with us for this recording, but I'm sure he's going to have thoughts to at least talk to us afterwards in private about. But you had said you had never seen, and I was like, you know what, this is a good pair. We've been sort of doing that off and on with different films. We usually try to go a little older, but there has been some recent bigger budget pictures, sci-fi ones that, you know, Birdman hasn't seen, Aaron hasn't seen, I usually have seen. There was a while where I was pretty much seeing everything that was sci-fi in theaters, you know, as much as I could. This one came, you know, a few months before the world basically shut down during the pandemic, and I feel maybe because of, you know, 2020 being such a big thing in people's lives, that a lot of the latter half of 2019 movies, you know, people didn't really get a chance to see or talk about now. So it's very rare that we have a big budget, you know, it says 80 to 100 million dollars, and that may not sound big, but that's a big budget for what you would consider, I guess, hard sci-fi, right? Or something a little more grounded. You know, it's not, you know, shooting laser beams at aliens kind of movie, right?
Yeah, it isn't. It definitely is more grounded. I won't say it's hyper realistic, but it's
I think what I mean is the presentation is meant to not put you into, like, you know, Star Trek, Star Wars, space fantasy. It's more like 2001: A Space Odyssey, or not really Apollo 13, but you know what I'm saying. Like, the special effects are meant to behave more like the reality of what it would be, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So this film stars Brad Pitt as pretty much the main, you know, focal point of the movie. There are other, you know, great cast members in it: Tommy Lee Jones, Ruth Negga, Liv Tyler, Donald Sutherland in one of his you know, better supporting roles of the latter part of his career. So it was, whenever he popped up in a movie, I was always happy to see it, you know, post 2000s, because it was getting rarer and rarer at this point when he would, you know, show up in anything. And I remember seeing this movie in theaters and thinking, wow, this is pretty darn good. But then, you know, leaving, and it didn't leave a super big impact on me. I thought, oh, this is great. I hope that, you know, we see more sci-fi like this. And then for the most part, we haven't in the last 6 years.
Yeah, for the most part.
So, you know, I guess before we get into the plot or anything, for you, did you hear of this movie before, or was this completely new to you?
I had heard of it before, but I think it was a movie that ended up blending in with other sci-fi movies that I had not seen. And whenever I heard of Ad Astra, I might have, like, started connecting it with, you know, Interstellar or you know, other movies of that kind.
Yeah,
where
I think Interstellar is
Interstellar
is the one that a lot of people would confuse it with. Similar, not exact presentation, but at least the trailers had a similar look and feel to them, and the plot points. And this was also around the same time as, like, Gravity and what was it, The Martian. They were sort of starting to blend together. And I think the big difference would have been here, like, you would have been like, oh, it's not the Matthew McConaughey space movie, it's the Brad Pitt space movie.
Yeah, and I'm a little disappointed I didn't see it in the theater, because there's a few shots in this that are really good, and I can tell that a big chunk of the special effects in this movie were actually shot with models and using older school techniques, and it looks so good. It's watch movies like this and compare it to things that use just like full CG, and you can see a quality difference. And I almost want to say that like working with models and doing these kinds of shots is probably cheaper than doing it with CGI, but it looks way better. At this point. But yeah, I had never seen it. And then when I watched the trailer for it before I watched it, when you said, "Hey, let's do Ad Astra," like, no, oh wow, this is a movie that actually looks really cool. I'm disappointed I didn't see this in the theater, as I said before.
and that's the thing. I used to go see everything, and now I try to get out when I can. I've got the movie membership, so I try to go to 1 to 2 movies per month to make my membership worth it. But there's not been that many attempts at I would say like a cerebral contemplative sci-fi in theaters in the last 5 years. There's been a bunch that has hit home video. Maybe they're adverse to risk, because this was kind of a risky film when you think about it. This is the kind of movie that Hollywood would have only approved back in the day if it had maybe half the budget that it has, because they wouldn't have thought. But I think it was the fact that you attached Brad Pitt to it at the time. They're like, hey, we should be able to get at least 100 million back for this. And they got about 135 on a production budget of 80 to 100. So they might have lost a little bit of money in the marketing initially, but then I think maybe through streaming or for home video, they would have made, some of it back. It also doesn't help that it was a September movie. It didn't quite make the summer, but it also doesn't feel like a summer blockbuster, right? Like it feels like you could have released this pretty much at any point, and maybe they were trying to go for like special effects Oscars or something by putting it out at that time period. But the basic premise of this, it takes place. But was it? 100
yeah, it's
years
basically 100 years. Yeah, 2120 ish.
Yeah, like because I couldn't remember if they gave an exact date, but I know it was in the 22nd century. So, and it's the film opens with Brad Pitt. He's somebody who he works for. It's not NASA. It's the the American Space the U.S. Space Force or something.
Like that.
Yeah, to something to that. I know it's like. He works for Spacecom, like Space Command, I think. And he is somebody who goes and does like repairs on the international, it's not the space station, it's the international space, what did they call it? Antenna or satellite or something?
It's an antenna. And I actually thought this was an interesting, like this whole first sequence kind of drew me in. And as I tried to figure out what the hell I was looking at,
it's like they had those in is it 2001 or 2010? Those Arthur C. Clarke books, like they have they're like long, like not space, like giant elevators that take you up into the upper atmosphere. Then they would like launch spaceships from it.
It's not a space elevator though, because that was very obvious from looking at it, and I was trying to think of what the purpose of building an antenna like that so tall would be when you could build it for less resources in space.
I was thinking that watching it, do you think it's for eliminating like electromagnetic interference, but still like getting power from the planet, like from terrestrial power sources, but then using it to send and receive communications uninterrupted by our atmosphere?
I don't know. There's just no reason for that. Like, if you want a power source, you have the sun, so you just build big solar panels, right? If you want a big antenna, you just build it in space, and then you don't have to reinforce it against gravity. Since you don't have like super strong material science, it doesn't seem like it. At least in this movie, it doesn't seem like we're like in sci-fi land yet. And you clearly don't have artificial gravity or gravity nullification. Let's put it that way. Why is this there?
So
what purpose does it serve that couldn't be served better elsewhere?
The only thing I could think of was that it was for like high-powered fiber optic communications, like to send signals or something to the moon or to other bases. Maybe.
I mean, who knows? But I mean,
like maybe like live video that wouldn't be made staticky by radiate. I don't know. So that's the only thing I could think of, is it had to be a communication satellite of some sort, or
Well, I think they
equivalent to
do
that.
say that it's a communications array, and yeah, I have no idea, no idea. The only thing that I could think of that would look like that might be interesting is like an induction, like something that uses induction, like, and changing magnetic fields to produce a current. Otherwise, yeah. Anyway, we're getting like nitpick, but like it's a cool
Yeah.
sequence and all.
but yeah, and he essentially it shows that he does the spacewalks to do repairs and maintenance, and you have to go through regular psychological evaluations, but also they will test your heart rate and other aspects to make sure that, one, that you haven't incurred any form of psychosis or depression or anything that could distract you from your work or potentially put people in danger. And he's sort of known as somebody whose heart rate never goes above 80 beats per minute. And while he's fairly antisocial, he's not complete. Like, he clearly has emotions, but he's had, as it's revealed later on, a not very loving or warm childhood, which has led him to be a little more closed off from people, as well as just he knows what to say to pass his psych evals, even if he probably shouldn't.
It comes across as that it's not just like people that are in space, like that he's having to take this because he's on like an important mission. It comes across as everybody has to take these tests all the time. I don't think they say that in the movie.
Yeah,
but
yeah, it's sort of hinted that maybe the government isn't as altruistic and as good as it seems to be, as they're presenting. There was a certain coldness to when you saw the news broadcast as well. Very kind of robotic reporting just on the facts. There was I noticed there was like, when bad things were happening and it was on the news, it's just like almost a robotic ticker tape on the bottom. No interviews with people. There was no emotion or personality or individuality shown, but it wasn't that they were overtly trying to say that everybody's been subjugated and under an oppressive rule. It was more hinted that everybody has to behave. And it's also shown and hinted that whether or not war is happening, there are factions on Earth that are not okay with U.S. Space Command.
Yeah.
And while he's going to do a simple maintenance on the outside of this giant antenna array thing, catastrophic failure, a bunch of people die, he gets sent down to Earth. You realize that he's not obviously on the outer atmosphere, because he would have probably burned up. So he's within the inner atmosphere, but he's having an uncontrolled fall. And to establish that he's got this, rock solid control of his emotions, he's still trying to communicate with command, and he's able to use his parachute, but he gets hurt when it doesn't fully deploy in time and has a cut in it. And then we fast forward, we see a little bit of the technology. They were smart to not try to have something wildly futuristic. It's sort of just an expansion on what the tech we currently have is, to make it a little realistic. And he's being called into a secret mission. It's revealed that there is antimatter bursts of some sort, interference coming from Neptune, which is what caused his catastrophic failure on his base that he was, or sorry, on the satellite. And there's also storms and all this sort of stuff happening on Earth. It's fucking everything up, for lack of a better term. And it's also right around the spot where his father, who left on a mission 29 years earlier it was the first major deep space inner Milky Way galaxy, or whatever, inner solar system mission, to try to find extraterrestrial life. He had disappeared, I think it was 14 years earlier. Yeah, 14 years since they had communication. But it was 29 years since he had left, and it's revealed, yada yada, that his father was not a good parent, and was presented on TV as the all-American, all human hero finding people in space. But in reality, he didn't like people. He was a curmudgeon-y bastard. They basically cast the perfect person
Sure. Yeah.
to play him with Tommy Lee Jones, because it's a little bit like how he is in person. He's a little bit gruff and a little bit standoffish, and it's rather, and they're like, we think he's alive, and they're like, and they're also, while they're telling him this, they're also gauging his reactions.
Yeah, they're like pointing a big like
One
listening ear at him to like scan him as he's answering these questions. It's really weird.
Yeah, which I've only ever seen done in, I've seen corporate people do that when they're interrogating somebody when they think they've stolen things from the company. They'll have, people scanning your for your reactions, your heart rate, all. It's like to see, one, if he's involved in this, or two, can we trust him with this? Like, it's quite clear that they don't trust anybody as much as they pretend that they do. And I do like how they set up. We want you to send a communications to him. We want you to take him back. We want to figure out what's going on. They want to figure out, is he causing it? Can they stop it? Can they yada yada? And then we get the sequence in the movie that is closest to what I would say is 2001: Space Odyssey style. We see the multi stages of how he's going to get to plot point, and it's the launch from Earth to the flying commercial to the moon, and then he has to take I think a buggy to another launch platform that then will take him to the military base, so it's no longer civilian but military bases on Mars, which then he has to take a secret military launch that most of the military doesn't even know about to get to Neptune, because at this point Mars is the furthest point in within the U.S. Space Force's control, but also it's the furthest point in the galaxy that we currently have full use of, because the antimatter or whatever bursts that were coming from Neptune have completely screwed up any forward bases beyond that.
Yeah.
And the public doesn't know that. The public doesn't know that the U.S. no longer has control of space beyond Mars.
And I am confused through all of this.
Yes.
I mean, I can gripe about the science of it if you want me to, because I mean, it's at this point, like,
go ahead.
All the stuff of him like traveling, it's so cool. Like, all the effects are beautiful, absolutely beautiful. All the, and it's fairly hard sci-fi, like how he's getting from A to B.
It's very 2001. Like, it feels like 2001,
and all of it is like actual pictures with proper models, and it's stunning, truly stunning. Good job. But like, how? All of this is how we have a station that's like around Neptune. Why? Don't know. So you have like this station built way out on the edge of the solar system for no real reason. It's powered.
The argument was that it was supposed to be the staging ground from which they would launch any and all attempts at communication with alien life beyond our solar system.
Why is Neptune good for that?
I would think, even though it's not said, I believe the simplest answer is American military space supremacy. I mean, the idea was they were driven out there because they're like, look how far our control reaches. Because, and the reason I say that is when they're on the moon, he meets up with Donald Sutherland, who is a colleague of his father's from 30, 40 years ago. And when they're traveling, they get attacked on moon rovers by, they don't say
pirates.
who.
They call them pirates.
They call them pirates, but it's probably some rival military or a rebel, political faction. And like, that's what they don't really go into it more, but like, in watching it, I was like, okay, I'm thinking more and more that the whole Neptune thing isn't about being the best staging point for our science, but more for putting something on the news to say, look how far we've gone, almost like a dick waving thing against anybody that would maybe go against the U.S. Spacecom.
Yeah. So I guess the issue that I had was it doesn't really make any sense to have that there. You could have it anywhere. Sure, it's far out, but there's probably better places to have that have a lesser gravity well than Neptune. Why is it powered by antimatter? And that's the only problem with that, is that nothing else in this movie is shown to be powered by antimatter. Everything else is nuclear. Why is this antimatter? And we learn it's powered by antimatter because the reason why all these big like waves of energy that are coming into the inner solar system and screwing everything up is because like antimatter from this station is doing something. And is it like it's hitting Neptune and vaporizing bits of Neptune and directly going out and hitting Earth? And then I think, wait a second, how much antimatter does this station have to inundate the entire solar system in this massive EMP cosmic ray wave? And when the sun can't even do that, how is this happening? And the movie is really cool, but like I'm saying, like,
Yeah.
all of that.
You know what it is. I think it might be something you're harping on, or we would harp on, simply because if the rest is presenting as a hyper realistic or as close to realistic interpretation as it could be, it's odd that they threw in the one Flash Gordon-y sort of thing.
It feels very out of place with how hard sci-fi this movie is, to then suddenly have something that's just sort of like wacky space opera.
It maybe could have been dealt with better, as it's not that it's antimatter. They could have done the mystery MacGuffin thing where they went, okay, it's nuclear. Everything was nuclear powered. They were sent out there, and one of the reasons they were sent out that far was they were going to be experimenting with developing cold fusion or something that's a little more grounded to some projects that may or may not actually be theoretically possible, or things that we would on Earth already be thinking about. And then the reason for it being that far away is they're worried of you're experimenting with stuff that could be potentially super dangerous on Earth. Let's do it as far away as we can while still being able to have some communication with them. So I could see that. I think as much as, both are very theoretical, but I think the idea of an antimatter drive versus a cold fusion drive, cold fusion would be much more grounded in the reality of the rest of this movie.
Sure.
And basically he has to go out there. It's like a 70, 80 day journey, I believe, or something like that. I think, nearly 80 days to get out to Neptune and meet up with his father, who the Lima Project is what it was called, that he was part of that. At least in this movie, it's not called, they're not using like a name like Lazarus, and they're not using a name like Icarus or something. It's still, a cool sounding, traditional name, but it's not quite on the nose as to what, I mean, they're not flying too close to the sun. It's not doing something hokey like that. And he gets out there, and he finds that his dad is still alive. Not completely crazy for somebody who's lived out there as long as he has. But you really see why Brad Pitt's character is the way he is when that's the upbringing he had.
For sure.
One of the first things his dad says is, I didn't love your mother. I didn't love you. I didn't care about you. I was very happy to leave.
Yeah, it's pretty messed up. It's pretty messed up, man.
And then, Brad all throughout this goes, I still love you, Dad. And you see for a moment it cracks through him. It cuts him a little bit because, for whatever reason, he's still human at heart, even if he's a cold bastard for the most part of it. And I did like a couple aspects before we get into maybe the plot, is when he goes up he's like, I'm bringing you in. He's been, away from human touch for so long that he cowers in fear as Brad goes to reach out to him. You would think like the first thought that you'd have as a human is like, oh, I haven't had contact in so long. I just want to hug somebody. But no, when you're alone that long, you're alone in your own thoughts. The thought of somebody else being near you would freak you out after 19
Yeah.
years. And I, even though I went through it, I forget that what happened to the rest of the crew. I forget. Did he kill them? I can't. Even though I watched it just a couple days ago, I fell asleep.
really?
Right
No,
after,
I mean,
can't
yeah,
remember
he did.
exactly. That's right. Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, I'm not crazy. He killed the rest of the crew or the rest of the people. He believes that he has, like, not that he's been anointed by God, but he believes he has the superior order complex. Like, his purpose in life, his mission is to, go beyond, find life, do all this stuff. But what his psychosis is not letting in is, what's the point of being the person to discover and do these things if there's nobody to report it to? There's no Earth, there's no future. The crazy, like, the selfishness and the psychosis that he has is, I'm going to be the one that does this. I have the divine purpose to do this stuff. Well, if there's nobody to report it to, then you're just feeding your own hubris.
Hmm.
And basically, he's got to try to. Brad Pitt basically has to try to stop him, take him home, and yeah. I forget what else there is. I don't know if he made any actual discoveries out there.
Yes, there's tons. He found like tons of different planets, but just no life. Because they were like scanning using telescopic arrays, I guess. And that's cool, but like they have to destroy the station with all the antimatter on board, thus releasing all the antimatter and theoretically destroying all life in the solar system if we believe what the rest of the movie is saying about these limited antimatter releases.
Oh, and right now I am remembering. So his father had his team out there, and they wanted to come home. He didn't want it. They mutinied, and he killed them all. And in doing that, it also damaged the scientific equipment that they have, which has led to a meltdown because he's not
able to fix it.
He's not trained to be able to fix it. The people that are able to fix it, he's killed.
Yeah, and so all the animator gets released in a big blast, and nothing happens.
Yeah,
but I will say that like the nuclear detonation, because they have to use a nuclear bomb because antimatter. But nuclear bomb from a distance, it actually is fairly realistic of what it would look like. Just a slow brightening, and it's going to sit there and glow as the plasma ball slowly, not slowly, but from the distance, it looks like it's slowly expanding. Good job, movie, on that. But yeah, I guess whatever antimatter's left there is going to start screwing up everything else around. I don't know. The antimatter thing and the weird waves of energy that are screwing everything up, that just, it's sort of, I won't say it ruins the movie, but it really kind of knocks the movie around for me.
Now, does it work if you would, taking away that it was made in 2019, if in your head, ignore the way it visually looks, in your head, if this movie came out in 1979, would your opinion of it have been different? Like to me, it feels like a 70s movie.
I don't know if it would change at all. I don't know if it would change. Like, I actually do like this movie. I think it's very well done.
Yeah.
But it has like this one baffling, chunk, and it's the space opera sci-fi stuff with antimatter and giant waves of energy. I don't know. I think I would probably consider it the same, even if it was like released in 1979.
Okay. So it's not a matter of like, it's not like the science has changed of our understanding of it that much in the last 50 years.
Not at all. Like I would have given the movie credit for trying to do, as accurate of science as possible about, the rockets, the bases. Hey, that image of them leaving the moon, and we get to see the, the lights on the moon's surface and everything. It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. And I did like when they were on the moon, and he's talking about how his father would hate how commercialized it was. The first things you see are like a UPS FedEx spot and a Subway.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I'd like to get myself a moon sub.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we get to see. There's a lot more neon signs there. I thought I saw some Vegas stuff in there, which was pretty weird.
Yeah, like I paused it to sort of see it at that point, and there were a bunch of it was like there was like an off track betting thing. So I'm assuming that there's like moon races,
Oh, yeah, no,
right, or something
yeah.
that they
And
could be
now that
betting
I'm
on.
looking it up,
Not by
there's
horses.
definitely a Vegas Vic neon cowboy sign that is there. So I was right. Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
so
right.
there's yeah, and for sure, I think the most prominent thing people see would be
Yeah.
the subway. You know, when they're showing like kids, and then there's kids obviously lining up for like
Oh God.
photo
Yeah,
ops and
you
different
reminded
things.
me of
Yeah.
that. The kid standing there with the guy in the alien suit. Oh God, yeah, I actually would have rolled. I rolled my eyes to that because I totally see that happening and being absolutely as offended as
Yeah.
possible seeing it.
Because like first thing would be military gets there obviously, and the next thing would be, well, we need money to keep this running, so who's willing to do it? And it's like, okay, obviously FedEx or UPS or one of those, you know, you'd have a courier service for people that are having, you know, vacations or even living up there. That makes perfect sense. And what's the next thing? Of course it would be a subway, because they it's like there's more subways than anything else. Like I was waiting to see like a Dunkin' or a Starbucks or something, but that's what it would be. It would be a bunch of corporate people that are like, whoever is in a mall would be like, wait, you know, we have to spend, you know, $100 million of our budget, but we're gonna get in the lobby
Yeah.
on the moon. Of course people would do that. That's what would fund the vast majority of this. Like obviously it was interesting to see how commercialized the moon got, and then he gets to Mars and it's back to being like a cold military style colony. And then, you know, beyond that, when he gets to Neptune, what does it look like? It's a pure cold, not even military. It's gone to being just a purely functional science facility. So there was a clear delineation between each type, which was interesting to me. Um, it would be a cool world that I would like to see more. And they're obviously not going to make another movie in this. You know, it's not going to be a franchise, but it was a cool setup. I should say that he returns to Earth after shenanigans and is trying to sort of reunite with Liv Tyler, who plays his wife, his estranged wife. And I think I remember when I saw it now the first time, I remember I was disappointed leaving the theater. Not disappointed that I want everything to have a happy ending or anything, but I think I was disappointed that when he got back, like he got the results and there was no life in the observable universe. And it was, but there were planets of note. The idea with like lots of mining stuff or potential spots for us to have new colonies or that sort of thing. So I thought that was cool, but at the same time, it gave off similar vibes to like Interstellar and to Contact, which Contact is a movie that we should talk about at another time, obviously. But I felt the letdown. Don't tease me with your alien movie and then not have any aliens.
Sure.
So, but I understand why they went for it with this. Like the point of this story was not to be dour necessarily, but the point of the story was to be like, hey, maybe we should be focusing on the people and our own planet first.
Which I don't agree either with, but it's, I mean, not that I don't agree with like your assessment of the movie, but I just don't agree with that stance. Like it one does not negate the other. You can do both. It's just the fact that people want you to stop thinking about things they don't care about. And I think that's, to me, that's like what happened to Tommy Lee Jones's character, is that he just couldn't see the forest for the trees. He couldn't understand the beauty and the wonder that he had been finding, because he was solely focused on one aspect.
Solely fixated on it, and I must find life, and it's like not realizing that he had found planets and things that were beyond comprehension of beautiful, just without the life that he was looking for. And it was nominated for a bunch of awards, specifically sound mixing, which I could say was good. Didn't get it, but there was a lot of competition that year anyway. But I want to make note that the soundtrack, I don't really remember anything from it. It blended itself purely into it. It's not a bombastic soundtrack. It's not a bombastic mix. It's a very subtle, like, it's not even like a moody film. It's just sort
Yeah,
of
it's
there.
ambient.
This is a film that's driven almost entirely on its visuals and how Brad Pitt fits into the situations.
Mhm.
And that's
Yeah.
pretty much it. I would say the soul of the movie is not even in Brad Pitt because he's supposed to be a mostly emotionless character. The soul of the movie is pretty much the few minutes that Donald Sutherland is in it.
Yep, that's where a lot of the emotion is, yeah.
He's the only he's pretty much the only person that him and Ruth Nega's Helen Lantos in this. Other than those two, everything else is pretty cold. So I don't know if it was intentional that like pretty much everybody in this is cold and standoffish. I don't know if it maybe leads into the situation of where the government is and everything that we were talking about earlier, but like the person that shows the most warmth and emotion in this is the oldest person shown in the movie, maybe that was around from before our society went in the trajectory it was going in.
I would say watch this movie. It's really well done, and I think Brad Pitt does a good job acting like he has no emotions and showing him bubbling right below the surface.
And you know that's people make fun of. He's actually a lot better actor than people give him credit. People always think of him as just like you know, he's the charming guy, the pretty boy charming guy that's in these fun movies. No, he's got range, and he shows it here for sure. So that's pretty much all I think we have to say. Like it's funny when a movie is like good, we don't have a ton to say about it. If a movie's fantastic, we have a lot. If it's bad, we got a lot to talk about. But no, this is like a solid 8 out of 10.
I mean, I think I would probably give it like a 6.5. It's definitely. I mean, the way I rate things is weird. Like it's above average. It's above average. I enjoyed it. I'd watch it again.
Yeah, and especially like that's a good score for you considering that they were attempting to do a hard sci-fi in the world of, you know, this is a Fox movie. This isn't like some, you know, independent movie, you know, funded by a scientific community or something. This was supposed to be a big blockbuster Fox movie, and they didn't go down the route of, you know, little green aliens.
And I think if people listen to me on Earth versus Soup enough, they'll know that like if I give something a 6.5, that means I did like it. I thought it was pretty good. Like my average is 4 to 6, so like a 6.5 is like, you know, a B minus. And
I you know what, honestly, I'll revise. To me, thinking back to when I saw it initially in theaters, I should go with what my first reaction was. This was like a 7 for my enjoyment factor. There are aspects that I like more, but you're right. Like to be critical of it, it's probably a 7. As in, like if it's anything below a 5, it's not worth watching at all. A 5 is like, oh, that's pushing it. And then like a 6 would be like watch it when it's on streaming. This is something if you're a fan of his, or if you're, you know, at all interested in, you know, 2001 Space Odyssey type movies, it's not going to reach up to that level of quality, but this is something that you won't be disappointed watching for sure.
And I mean, they do a good job with a lot of the science in it, except for like the stuff dealing with the station. So I mean, I even enjoyed like trying to figure out if that travel time from Mars to Neptune was realistic for the kind of engine that they had. And I'm like, well, okay, it's a little weird, but it's not bad. It just requires them to go about like 8% of a G, so you know 8/100ths of a G acceleration, and then flip halfway there and decelerate. So I mean, the Expanse even has more hardcore engines than that, so no problem.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're looking for something like, if you're a fan of Donald Sutherland and you want to see one of his later pictures, because you know he passed only 3 or 4 years after this. If you're a fan of his stuff, and you probably haven't seen this, because I think a lot of people forget this movie exists. You know, it's a charming, you know, role for him. It's a good, solid movie to watch. You know, it's not one that you have to be like in a super sci-fi mood for. You can, you know, put it on in the afternoon when it's like a rainy day or you're snowed in, because if you're in the Northeast like us, it's been snowy the last little bit. It's one to definitely watch. So I think it's one of the better sci-fi movies of the last 10 years for sure.
Enjoyed it. So.
And I guess that's probably going to be it for us right here on Future Imperfects at This Week in Geek. So I guess we're going to both be signing off. We'll see what we've got next to watch. There's plenty, but that's going to do it right here. Come and listen to us. We will have plenty of more shows. In the next coming weeks. Not sure exactly what's going to come out yet because of how we're recording these, but that's going to do it for us right here at This Week in Geek. Make sure that you sit back, keep an open mind when you watch some of these movies, because I think that you're going to have a great time.
Time. One shall stand, one shall fall. Why throw away your life so recklessly? That's a question you should ask yourself, Megatron.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
That's right, Mr. Peabody.
Quiet, you.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
You don't understand.
I do. I understood that reference.
Mission successful. Shutting down.